Tonight, burning scrub, but there are fears our forests could be next. A terminal fire grinds the world's busiest airport to a chaotic halt. It's a first and the hottest wedding ceremony of the year. And Turner turns it on for the locals at the New Zealand Open. Good evening. A warning from the fire service to brace ourselves for a fiery summer. It comes after the latest in a series of scrub fires last night, which threatened houses in Lower Hutt. Fire came within 20 metres of homes. Police and fire officers suspect the blaze was deliberately lit.
Fire took hold quickly shortly after 9 last night and roared through 1 square kilometre of scrub and native bush. 4 helicopters with monsoon buckets struggled to contain it. This morning, the black hillside scar showed how close the blaze came to houses. A group of teenagers was seen leaving the bush just before the fire. The fire service says this summer the public should be vigilant in noting suspicious behaviour.
We've had a number of what I would suggest suspicious fires now in the bush. You know, conditions are sort of reaching quite extreme. The winds, it's very, very dry, and you know, there are a few people out there who appear to be lighting these on purpose.
With resources fully stretched, the fire service wants residents to take responsibility. To reduce the spread of fire, property owners should take precautions like clearing away flammable vegetation on their boundaries. Forestry managers are also taking more precautions this year. Most of the country's 1.5 million square hectares of plantation forest is in the extreme high-risk zone.
The forests in Gisborne, Hawke's Bay, Wairarapa, Nelson Marlborough and Canterbury have had high fire dangers in recent times, and forest owners are looking to put in place precautions such as closing forests down.
Closing them down means recreational use of the forests will be restricted and in some areas banned. To raise public awareness of fire danger, the Rural Fire Service is launching a fire prevention campaign. It says the service's resources in the case of a large-scale fire haven't been tested for a decade. It's looking at plans to manage one. But after an exceptionally busy spring, firefighters are dreaming of a quiet Christmas. Vanna Owen, 3 National News.
And fire at a passenger terminal in London's Heathrow Airport caused 9 hours of chaos overnight. Nobody was hurt, but 300 flights were cancelled and thousands of people affected. Most airports throughout Britain and some in Europe were disrupted.
Few visible signs of the fire remain, but with thousands still facing delays, the stress of dealing with a day of chaos has tried the tempers of staff and passengers.
We still have no information as to whether A, this flight will operate on time, B, whether it will operate at all.
The fire that fouled up the world's busiest international airport started early this morning. Flights were still landing and taking off, but the decision was rapidly taken to shut down terminals 1, 2 and 3. The airport authorities say the local fire brigade was on the scene within 2 minutes. They were quickly joined by members of the London Fire Brigade. Conditions were extremely hazardous as winds rapidly fanned the flames. The cladding on the outside of the building caught fire along the length of the terminal. It took nearly 4 hours to put it out. As smoke billowed over the building, the airport sealed off the 3 terminals. Ambulances were called, but no one was hurt in the evacuation. Huge traffic jams built up on the surrounding roads. At daybreak, the airport looked almost frozen, at a time when planes are normally landing and taking off less than a minute apart. In the light, it was possible to see more of what had happened. The fire had spread into the roof space above the passenger areas and then spread 200 metres. But inside, very little was damaged.
Many of our morning services have been cancelled.
But passengers across the airport faced chaos.
No hope, no chance of going today.
At Terminal 1, flights were resumed this afternoon, and BA, the biggest operator in the building, hoped the worst is now over.
In France, Carlos the Jackal, who was once the world's most wanted man, has finally gone on trial. His victims call him a murderer. Governments denounce him as a terrorist, but he calls himself a professional revolutionary.
For years he was known for the things he was blamed for: bombings, assassinations, the kidnapping of Arab oil ministers in Vienna. And through all those years, in the 70s and 80s, he was known by names that were not his own: Mubarak bin Rashid, Khalid bin Muhammad, Carlos the Jackal. He left a trail of death and destruction that killed at least 80 people in 6 countries, making him not only a sinister legend, but the focus of a global manhunt that ended with his capture 3 years ago. Today, under heavy and nervous security, he finally came to court, charged with murdering 2 Paris detectives in 1975. Your name and occupation, a judge inquired. I am Ilyich Ramirez Sanchez, he answered, which is true. I am a professional revolutionary, he said, which is his defense. His trial is illegal, he insisted, because French agents had no right to kidnap him from Sudan. These pictures show his good life in Khartoum. His attorney argues that he was not a criminal, but rather a soldier for Palestinian and communist causes. The man called Carlos has already boasted in fact, that he did kill the 2 detectives. The only remaining question is whether, as he's threatened, he'll tell the court about under-the-table dealings he says he had with various Western governments, including the French, back in the days when he was still feared as the Jackal.
A broken box of what was thought to be asbestos caused an emergency in an Auckland suburb this morning. Shops at Mount Smart were cordoned off and the suspicious powder piled up on a footpath watered down so it wouldn't blow away. There were problems getting rid of it, with a number of services refusing to handle the substance because it wasn't their job. By early this afternoon, it was cleared away and believed to be fibrous material from a building site and not asbestos. A marriage made in hell are as close to it as you can get. A German couple took the plunge today and dropped in on a hot spot to exchange vows amongst the fire and brimstone of White Island.
Not the coolest place to tie the knot, but it's the hottest wedding of the year. Nicole Kloss and Dominic Konzelman, with the help of an international wedding company, chose to be married among the mud pools.
Dominic, will you love and honour Nicole and learn to understand and respect her as a person, sharing her love all of your married life?
Yes. White Island's not the place to linger, but they stayed long enough to become man and wife.
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
The only hitch was when the volcanic breeze blew away the wedding certificate. But being married on White Island did have its compensations.
It's not cheap, but it's cheaper than marrying at home in Germany.
The hot pools weren't the only thing bubbling. There was still time for a glass of White Island champagne.
I've married people on the beach, but White Island, in the crater of White Island, would be the most unusual place for any wedding, I would say, in New Zealand, apart from probably on top of Mount Ruapehu.
This was the first official wedding on White Island, but Angus Wright says it could be the first of many, and he already has another booking. Bob McNeil, 3 National News.
Coming up, the fastest train in the world, flying made safer, and one of the country's smallest vineyards toasts a big success. The head of the UN's Commission on Iraq arrived in Baghdad today, making renewed demands for unrestricted access to Saddam Hussein's arsenal. But for Iraq, today was more significant as a day of celebration for Saddam's son, Uday.
In the holy city of Najaf, they were preparing to celebrate in the traditional way. Sheep waited to be slaughtered in honor of Saddam Hussein's son, who survived an assassination attempt 1 year ago today. The president's son, Uday, is now 33 years old, so 33 sheep had been brought for this government-organized celebration. All of this is serving as a somewhat bizarre prelude to the day's principal event, the arrival of Richard Butler, the chief of the UN's arms inspection teams, who is entering an atmosphere as uncompromising as it ever has been. His mission to try to secure entry for his inspectors into Saddam Hussein's presidential palaces. Richard Butler came expressing his desire to find agreement. He emphasized the UN's determination to inspect any site considered necessary.
I mean, one of the things I think it means is not that we don't inspect, because that would be contrary to the basic law, but that we have a variety of ways of inspecting.
It seems possible that this standoff will continue with sanctions remaining in place and any use of force by the United Nations still some way off.
A week-long public inquiry into the crash of TWA Flight 800 has ended, with a number of suggestions about how to make airplanes safer. One idea would require passenger jets to use a less flammable type of fuel.
The Federal Aviation Administration is now looking into whether a fuel, much like the fuel used in some military planes, should be used in all passenger jets to reduce the risk of fuel tank explosions. Navy fighters use a fuel called JP5, which is much less flammable than commercial jet fuel.
You could make a 20-fold increase in safety in the center fuel tank on the 747. That's worth going after.
Boeing and the Federal Aviation Administration now say they are rethinking decades of aviation philosophy and are looking not just to eliminate sparks in the fuel tank, but vapors as well. And there may be changes in how airlines maintain older planes. Until now, they have only worried about stress and metal fatigue in major structural components. Damage to the wiring found in the TWA wreckage may lead to detailed inspections of smaller components, even though there's a risk that the inspections themselves could lead to more damage. There may never be an answer as to what brought down the TWA plane, but the hope is that lessons from this tragedy will make all airplanes safer.
Today marks another milestone in Japan for man and his marvellous machines. A new fast train has established a world record of 529 kilometres per hour. But the carriages weren't running on the rails, but riding slightly above them, lifted by magnets, which eliminate friction. The train is still developmental and won't carry passengers for another few years. Back in this country, a small North Canterbury vineyard has become the toast of the town of Cust. One of its red wines has taken on some of the big names in the industry across the Tasman, and in a blind tasting, it's come out on top.
Nestled in the foothills of the Southern Alps, Melness Wines is one of the country's tiniest commercial vineyards. Less than half a hectare of vines are nurtured here by Norma Marshall.
It's a real hobby gone a wee bit further, that's all.
A focus on quality rather than quantity has harvested a rich reward, with Melness Wine's 1995 Reserve Pinot Noir recently named Pinot Noir of the Year by Australia's Wine State magazine. It's success that has caught the owners, Norma and Colin Marshall, who still works as an art teacher at a Christchurch high school, by surprise.
Just over the moon to be one of the smallest vineyards in the country, to get such an award. It's been just amazing.
But I didn't think it would happen quite so quick. I didn't think it would ever happen, really.
Norma retired from teaching at the start of the year to devote herself to the vineyard that was first planted with grapes 7 years ago. A cafe is being built, but until that's completed, Australasia's top Pinot is sold from one half of the Marshall's two-car garage. Within the garage, ingenuity's to the fore, with bottles topped off by a device made from an electric paint stripper and treacle tin. Other innovations include sonic bloom technology. Where vines are treated to a symphony of sound waves, the Marshalls say helps the plants develop strength and sweetness. If that's not enough, the vines can expect a good talking to.
I'm always talking because no one else to talk to when you work on your own, or you sing to them when you're going along.
Norma says there are no plans to expand the vineyard just yet. She already works 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, leaving little enough time to savour the sweet taste of success. Craig Dowling, 3 National News.
After the break, a bombshell for Formula One in France, and the Iron Men of golf go head-to-head in a trans-Tasman clash. Kiwi Greg Turner's hopes of his second New Zealand Open title are looking up. After today, Turner has a 2-shot lead over Australian Lucas Parsons after 3 rounds. He leads a pack of Australians with the next Kiwi back, Frank Nobilo, who's 7 shots off the pace. Fellow Kiwi Philip Tataurangi is a further 2 shots back. It's been a day where players struggled to break par on the quick greens.
Second place Kiwi Greg Turner made his move on the leaderboard at the first hole. And he began to put pressure on overnight leader Australian Lucas Parsons. New Zealand number 1 Frank Nobilo picked up his first birdie of the day after reaching the par 5 fourth and 2.
Oh, there's a very good shot too.
And after this shot, Greg Turner took the lead and was within a key width of a new car on the par 3 7th.
Oh, watch this one.
It's in. It's in.
Oh!
And on the quick greens of the back nine, the battle with Turner and Parsons intensified.
Parsons, yes.
Thank you, says Lucas Parsons.
And with the greens getting faster, a par round tomorrow could be the winning round. Michael Barron, 3 National News.
No French Grand Prix next year. Formula One's ruling body today announced the race has been axed. The FIA blamed a dispute over television rights, and they've also put the Belgian and Portuguese races on notice.
The French Grand Prix has been run every year bar one since 1906. Understandably, the French are horrified at the decision to rub it off the racing calendar. The FIA couldn't accept a new French ruling, which doesn't allow for exclusive TV coverage. The French sports minister is pleading for more time to reach a solution. And the sword of Damocles is hanging over the Belgian and Portuguese Grand Prix. Belgium has until the end of this month to come up with a way of working around a strict anti-tobacco advertising law, or their Acts 2. The Portuguese have a similar deadline to get their track up to scratch. And China and South Africa are waiting just as nervously. They're the reserves who get the green light if the Europeans get the red. Linda Dodge, 3 National News.
England's women cricketers have scored a record 376 runs on the way to thrashing Pakistan in the World Cup tournament in India. New Zealand, with 1 win from 1 game, holds second place in its group behind Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, in Brisbane, the men's team has won the toss and is batting in its day-night match against Queensland. Brian Young, Simon Doull and Jeff Allett have been brought into the side, while Gavin Larson, Craig McMillan and Chris Cairns are rested. 2 of England's most controversial goalkeepers are allowed to put their boots back on. Bruce Grobbelaar and Hans Seeger have admitted breaking the rules over betting. Today they heard their punishment, a 6-month ban and a big fine, but it's been suspended for 2 years.
After 3 years of uncertainty, Bruce Grobbelaar's future in football was assured today. He arrived at Football Association headquarters having already admitted breaking the rules on betting. This was simply to hear the sentence. And the FA decided that after fighting 2 court cases, he'd been through enough. The fine and the ban were to be suspended.
It was noted the men had already suffered heavily in both financial and personal terms. The Commission considered it would be unfair to impose a penalty, which would take Mr Grobbelaar and Mr Sagers out of the game again.
It'll cost both players £4,000 in costs. Grobbelaar, though, denied he'd been let off lightly.
I'm not effectively let off. It is a serious matter. But had I known the penalties before, I would never have entered into the agreement with certain people.
That agreement netted Grobbelaar £8,000 for what he described as match forecasting. Sagers received almost $50,000 for the same thing, predicting the results of games on behalf of a betting ring in the Far East.
New Zealanders are in good form partway through the World Windsurfing Champs in Fremantle. Aaron McIntosh is tied for the lead with fellow Kiwis John Paul Tobin in 5th spot, Bruce Kendall in 11th and Shane Bright 12th. And Olympic medalist Barbara Kendall is in 3rd place in the women's section. The 3rd leg of the Whitbread Round the World Yacht Race starts tonight with the 2,200-mile dash from Fremantle to Sydney. There are 9 boats left in the race. After 2 legs, Norwegian entry Innovation Caverna leads, with Sweden's EF Language in 2nd place. Merit Cup skipper Kiwi Grant Dalton says their chances of being in contention are hanging in the balance, and this leg will be the decider.
It'd be easy for us to get back into it, and we're not out of it. If we have another bad leg, we'll be out of it. Suddenly the gap, although it'll look mathematically quite simple, will in reality be quite hard.
The first of the fleet are expected in Sydney 2 days before Christmas. After the break, a look at the weather for the rest of the weekend, and the farewells begin for the ageing Andover aircraft. Kaitaia and Napier and Gisborne in the North Island reached the nationwide high of 25 today, dropping to 17 in New Plymouth. In the South Island, temperatures ranged between the nation's high of 25 to Nelson, down to a high of 14 degrees in Hokitika, Westport and in Invercargill. Looking at the satellite picture, high cloud is streaming off the mountains around central New Zealand, while patchy high cloud associated with a weak front moves up the South Island as a high brings clear skies to the North Island. By midday tomorrow, that high should continue to exert its influence over the North Island, with a good ridge hanging back from the high centre to the east, while a northwest flow builds over the South Island. To the upper North Island tomorrow, fine with lots of sunshine with occasional cloud. The UV index is extreme to most places here, very high to much of the rest of the country. Further south, fine and mostly sunny with northwesterlies. Hastings is heading for 25 with 20 in New Plymouth. To the upper South Island, cloudy in the west and Nelson, otherwise fine with variable high cloud. Both Blenheim and Christchurch are heading for 25. And for the rest of the country, rain or drizzle in the west, fine with high cloud in the east. Timaru, the warmest here on 25 with 21 to Invercargill. Looking ahead to Monday, fine over the North Island apart from cloudy areas. Rain spreading to Southland and Otago from the west, otherwise fine. Rain to the west of both islands on Tuesday, also to Westland. Showers to the Southland coast, cloudy periods elsewhere. Finally tonight, the first of the farewells for the last of the Air Force's ageing Andover aircraft as they celebrated 21 years of service at Whenuapai today. They've been all around the world for the Air Force, and now only 4 remain of a fleet of 10 bought from the RAF in 1976. The Andovers have served in Africa and the Middle East, and today they showed some of the things they've been doing for the last 21 years. 42 Squadron is the last military fleet of Andovers in the world, but from July next year, they'll be just a memory. That's 3 National News, Sport and Weather for Saturday the 13th of December. Because of cricket, we'll be back at the later time of 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. Join us then. I'm Neil Waka. Good night.